Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Pettit's Market Evan Monroe Show, where we cover everything on the reins with the West Greene Buffaloes. As always, I'm joined here with Buffaloes head coach Evan Monroe. Coach, how you doing this evening?
Doing great.
Got another win, your second win of your high school career in your second game too. Starting out the season 2-0 with a win over Cloudland on Roan Mountain. How good did that feel Friday night?
Anytime you go to Cloudland and come off the mountain with a win is a good time. They're a pretty good football team. They're physical. They were ranked in 1A. So, to come off there with a win was good for us. It was a good feeling coming off the mountain 2-0.
Especially the type of game that you played too, where neither team really had the advantage. You traded leads back and forth. You got that late lead in the fourth quarter due to Dawson Daniels' 65-yard rushing touchdown up the middle, I think with 3:33 left to go. Came up with that big stop on fourth down too. Was this win kind of more enjoyable than your first just because of the way that you won this game at the last second?
I enjoy all wins. It don't matter who we beat and how we beat them. I'm just glad to get a win. That first one was special though. Anytime home wins always feel a little more special. And that first one as a head coach, huge county game. I think that was a little more special to me. Don't get me wrong, I loved winning Friday night. I'm a competitor. I want to win. Mm-hmm. It don't matter what it's in. I want to win. My wife says I'm probably the most competitive person she knows. Like me and my brother-in-law got in a fight over badminton one time. So, I don't really care what it is. I want to win. So, that first one was special, but don't get me wrong. That coming off and the way we won, it felt pretty good.
On the same way, I can relate to that level of competitiveness too.
Monopoly, checkers, doesn't matter.
Basketball,
doesn't matter.
Seeing who can do something the quickest, even if it's as minuscule as putting up dishes or something like that.
I'll let her handle that.
Hey, whoever wins, wins. I mean, it was a game that came down to the wire, too. You had that stop on fourth down within the 10-yard line, I think, with like 4 seconds left to go, too. It was a game of inches where you literally could not give up any amount of yards or it could hurt you in the end. And it almost could have turned out that way, too, because if you'd have given up 10 more yards, they could have ended up winning on a 2-point conversion or an extra point, could have went into overtime. You can never tell going into a football game, but your team ended up being the toughest in the end. How nerve-wracking of a final play was that for you?
We had the lead. And just in my gut, I had the feeling we were going to win. We needed one stop. That's all we really needed. They didn't really get in a hurry to set the ball to get set to run their next play. And so they kind of shot themselves in the foot. They called timeout right before third down. They went ahead and got their third and fourth down play call in just because they were out of timeouts after that. And so they run the one play, they hurry up, get set, run the next one. Alex Johnson comes from the backside at linebacker across the formation, grabs the kid by the ankle, rips and rolls him, and stops him short. I call a timeout. We take a knee. Just how you drew it up.
I mean, your offense, too, they carried you throughout the whole entire game. Is kind of how we talked about last week, how you really don't have that one superstar on offense. You've just got that staff of players that get it done for you, and it seemed that way when you had 4 different scorers on the night that accumulated those 4 touchdowns for you. You had Maddox, Ian, Austin, and Dawson giving you those 4 touchdowns. And Wyatt Moody, he really carried the load the whole entire game, giving you the most rushing yards. He had 8 carries for 90 yards, but Dawson with that big play ended up getting right behind him, 8 for 72. And you didn't have that one superstar, but you had that full team effort that brought you another win.
Our offensive line did a great job for us all night long. That I told them they was probably going to be one of the more physical front sevens that we play this year, just because they come downhill. They don't care. They want to knock the fool out of you. I said they're going to be fast and they're going to be physical. We got to come with our chin strap buckled, ready to go. And, those guys took pride in that and said, all right, let's run in what we're going to run, and we're going to make them like it. And, we probably called the same play 30 times Friday night and got, every time we'd run it, we'd get 5-6 yards, 3-4 yards. Small increments that kind of, after you run that all night long, eventually one's going to bust, and that's what happened with Doc on his long one. He just gone.
And I wanted to talk about the defense because you even mentioned right there you gained short yardage and then you gain long yardage, and then you can't give up any amount of yardage on defense. And that came to fruition on defense whenever you came up with a safety also.
Yes.
Because any amount of points matter. We talked about defense and special teams adding points to the scoreboard. And when you get a safety too, I mean, that heightens the level of intensity on the sideline too whenever you can get that safety and the defense hands it right back over to the offense.
The safety, we fumble inside the 5 again, inside the 2 really. And the guy that fumbled, me and him have had to come to Jesus meeting. He didn't do what he was supposed to on that, and so we've had our talk, and he knows what his mistake was and that not to do that again. And so he ends up bailing us out though because he's the one that got the safety. He got a butt chewing for me. Goes in, makes 2 tackles for loss right back to back. And
which player was it?
Is Maddox.
Okay.
And so Maddox kind of.
He came up big again.
Yes. So he comes in, does what he's supposed to, blows it up. We get the safety. They have to punt it back to us. I think the article said that Kendall Caldwell was the one with the return. He's our kicker.
Okay.
That was not Kendall. Trust me, Kendall can't move like that. It was Austin Franklin back deep. 2-7, kind of a similar, close enough that you could get it mixed up. But it was Franklin on that return, the big 60-yard return that let us go in and score again. So
that was actually going to be the next topic I led into, that big return. So I'm glad you let me know who the player was beforehand. But Austin giving you that big 65 or that 60-yard return too, right after fumbling it and then getting that safety. I mean, you had a few big plays back to back to back. Even though the one beforehand with the fumble ended up hurting you, you turned it around with that safety and that huge kick return right after.
Yes, hindsight's 20/20. And, there's little things we look back on the film and say, I probably should have done this, should have done that. But anytime you can get the ball in your athlete's hands and they can do something special like that, I ain't going to complain about it. So
wacky second quarter, too, I heard about.
Oh, my gosh. That second quarter, it felt like that second quarter lasted, I'll put it this way, it was 9 o'clock by the time halftime rolled around. They're like, 9:15, you got to come back out. And I looked, and I said, I didn't have my phone or nothing. I said, what time is it? And they're like, it's 9:05 now. I'm like, we're supposed to be off the mountain by now. Like, it's supposed to be a quick game. But the clock quit working. So when the clock stopped working, they had to keep the score or keep the clock manually. And so it was kind of funny. They would have to call up to, if you've ever been to Cloudland, they have opposite of the bleachers on the one side, they've got a big tower, and so where they keep like their the scoreboard and all that, they don't keep it in like a normal press box. And so the guy would call down the time to Cloudland sideline. He would relay it to the back judge to our side referee to our sideline, it would kind of like travel up into
the fans,
the fans, and the fans would kind of get it to the PA guy. And so you would kind of hear every now and then. I'm focused on the game, but occasionally I'd catch like, well, there's about 2 minutes to go or something like that. So, it was wild. It was one of the craziest things. I didn't know the score, didn't know time, didn't know how much time out. Like, I probably bugged the guy on our sideline to death. I was like, how much time we got? Like, what? It is 15-14, right? And he's like, yes. I'm like, okay. Now, how much time we got left? He's like, dude, I don't know. Like, there was multiple times I asked him. He's like, I don't know. Let me find out. And so we'd have to call over to the back judge to the other side guy up to the top, relay it back. So by the time it got back to us, it's the wrong time. So
yeah, because about 15 seconds had probably passed by that.
At least probably 30. It was just one of those nights. It was like that second quarter felt like it lasted about a whole half of football.
That's insane.
I don't know if it was because when the clock quit, we had to find 25 minutes for them to try to work on the clock. Or, I go out to the guys and I'm like, I don't know really what to tell you guys other than just stay kind of loose, stretch a little bit, don't stand around in one spot. And we talked for a few minutes, so got them plenty of water, made sure we were hydrated. And I'm like, can we just not keep this manual? Let's go. I'm ready to play. Like, let's get this thing going. And we finally just come to the agreement. We'll just keep it manually. And then it felt like that second quarter went on forever.
It was an insane night of football throughout all of Northeast Tennessee, because you had that game where the clock breaks in the second quarter.
Yes.
You had another game where it got canceled in the third.
That was North Greene, Castlewood,
yes,
right?
And then you had Greenville's game that turned out to be a no contest. And then you had Chuckey-Doak's game where everything went as planned.
Did you see Alcoa Bearden?
6-3.
Did you see what happened?
I did not.
Bearden is rolling out to throw a pass. The entire stadium lights go off.
How much time's left?
It's like late in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
They're driving to score, and stadium lights go out. Eventually they come back on, but it's middle of the play. The kids rolling to the sideline, and it just goes pitch black. You see people trying to get their cell phones out, and all you see is like the little camera light. It was
a wild night of football.
Yes, it was one of the weirder Friday nights that I can remember.
Yes, and I need to stop. I don't know if I need to stop talking and saying some things, because I said hopefully it'll be a quick game for you all. Ended up being probably the longest night that you'll have.
We got back here about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I jinxed a lot of things Friday night. If you go back and watch a lot of those interviews last week, there were about 3 things I said that the complete opposite happened. So I'm not going to wish anything to happen anymore. I'm not going to say much. I'm just going to ask my questions and move forward now. But that's all we got on the recap, though. 2-0 to start the season.
Absolutely.
Got a win on Roan Mountain over Cloudland, 28-22. We'll move forward into the second half, though. Need to get some commercials in first before we talk about their upcoming game here at home with Chuckey-Doak. So we'll be right back in just a second here on Grassroots Media.
Pizza Inn's new Right Way Buffet is open and ready for you and your family. Now with new garlic buttery crust and stuffed crust pizza, along with salads and desserts. It's the best part of your day. The all-day, everyday buffet. Only at Pizza Inn Greenville.
Remember those days when life was simpler and every corner held a treasure just waiting to be discovered? Pettit's Market was a place where memories were made and where stories were woven. Here you'll find more than just goods. You'll find a piece of the past wrapped in the embrace of today. Pettit's Market is where neighbors become friends, friends become family, and good food and love holds everything together. So step inside, make memories, eat good, and leave happy. Pettit's Market, the little store with a big welcome.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Pettit's Market Evan Monroe Show, where we cover everything on the range with the West Greene Buffaloes. As always, joined here with West Greene head coach Evan Monroe. So you've got a big game coming up this week. No longer as big of a game as it used to be, but a big game nonetheless against a county rival in the Chuckey-Doak Black Knights.
Yes.
They're coming here this year. Third game of the season, usually the last game of the season, doesn't have conference implications anymore with you moving down into the Region 1 2A conference. But it's still a game that the boys focus on a lot.
Yeah.
It's a county game. Everybody wants to beat a county opponent. Yeah. Talk about what you're looking forward to Friday night and talk about what you expect out of your team.
Anytime a county team you play a county team, there's bragging rights involved.
Exactly.
They work with those guys. They'll for the rest of their life, they'll have that bragging right over those guys. And so when they have those bragging rights, it's a special moment. It's a big game. Both teams undefeated. It's not a region game anymore, but, for so long it's just a rivalry. And so you want to win that ball game. You want to win all of them, but the county games, the kids, it's not hard to get them fired up for. They probably have 3 of the fastest kids in the county with Mervin, Treadway, and Rush. All 3 are great athletes. They can bust a play instantly. Treadway on defense last week against Granger, he had a pick 6 for like 70 yards. Rush picked up a fumble and scored on defense. So they're not just guys you got to watch out for offensively. They're guys that play hard on defense as well. Mervin's probably one of the best backs we'll see this year. He's a stud of an athlete. He's patient. He looks for his holes, and when he sees a crease, he's fast enough to kick that gear, and he's gone. And so for us, we just got to come out, play good, sound defense. Offensively, we want to control the clock that's always our game plan. Control the clock, control our tempo, wear on them with our physicality, and I think we can do that Friday night.
Is it weird playing on a short week too, with the game being on Thursday this week? I know I always ask that question during this exact week every year, but is it any different playing on a Thursday where you have that one less day to prepare?
Yes. We come off a game like Cloudland that was very physical, very it was like a heavyweight fight. It was two guys just trading punches all night long, and so, we'd like another day to kind of nurse a couple guys that just a little beaten, banged up, nothing serious, but you get a helmet to the hand, it's a little tender for a couple days. We had a kid, he got his finger stepped on, and he come to the sideline. He had a big chunk of, and I just kind of had to say, "Hey, grit your teeth. I'm gonna tape it up." And you're going back in. He's like, "That's what I want you to do." So I taped it up real quick and sent him back in. And so, little things like that. That's just kind of nicks and dents and dings that you'd like to be able to take another day to recover from. But I'm used to playing on Thursdays in middle school, so it ain't really a short week for me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for high school, you need that extra day. But we're going to make the most of it.
Talk about what you expect on both sides of the ball with Chuckey-Doak too, because a lot of people who watch this are familiar with Chuckey-Doak. Might even have some Chuckey-Doak fans watching this, so don't give up too much information too. They might be scouting you on this. But what do you expect from their offense and defense too? You talked about the three big playmakers in Mervin, Treadway, and Rush. What kind of formations do you expect to see out of them?
They don't run nothing crazy. They'll run two receivers out, one to the other side. They'll have what we call him a sniffer, or H-back as the offensive guys call him. He'll either be on the twin side or he'll be on the solo side. And then they'll have Palazzo, and then they'll have Mervin. And they'll move the sniffer around, they'll move Mervin around. Twins will be on one side or the other. That's really all they've really shown. Now, is that all they can do? No. But, the first couple weeks, that's all they really showed us on film. And so, offensively, they want to get it to their playmakers. They want to get it to one of those three guys that can make you miss and go the distance. Defensively, they run a four-man front. They're physical. They're big, strong, good-looking kids up front. Linebackers fly around. Kind of have Rush playing middle field at safety and got Treadway at one corner. And so, that's two good athletes to have playing kind of back, making sure keeping everything in front of them. They can go hawk anything down that's around them. So, they're going to be a tough physical team, and so, I look forward to it.
And with them having a new head coach stepping in again this year with Billy Kaler, I don't think their formations have really changed much on offense. I think he's taking over the same offense that Coach Kirkendall kind of played with last year. Yeah. So I don't think you're going to see much of anything new coming out that you kind of have to prepare extra for. It's kind of the same thing that some of these upperclassmen have seen the last few years.
Yeah. These guys, they know. Some of them play travel ball together, and they know each other on like a personal level. Not just like, hey, I know him, I know he plays football for Chuckey-Doak. Like, they hang out, or they may not hang out, but they'll talk to each other, text each other stuff. And so it doesn't require a whole lot to get fired up to play those guys.
Yeah. And as always, too, end of every interview, got 3 keys to winning each game. What are they this week in order to carry out the success that you need?
Very similar to last week. We got to win the turnover battle. We turned it over twice against Cloudland. They had 4 turnovers, so that was a big swinging point for us, just to be positive on that end. Got to create more explosive plays than we allow. That's something we're working on offensively, is getting those big plays, those chunk plays, to allow us to move the ball quicker and not have to grind out a 12, 15-yard drive, 15-play drive. And as always, the last one score more points than the other team.
Absolutely.
Now, the third one, we just got to be more physical than they are. We got to be able to run the ball and run the ball well. And so if we can do those 3 things, I think we'll be all right.
All right, I think it's all we've got this week. That game will be 7:30 on Thursday night this week. That'll actually be our Game of the Week broadcast too. So tune in here on YouTube. These will be releasing on Wednesday night, but about 24 hours from now on Thursday night around 7 o'clock. We'll get things started. 7:30 will be kickoff time. If you're in the county and you're able to, come out and watch. I know we've got 2 teams from Greene County. It's a county matchup, so if you're able to, come out and support each team. It'll be here at the range, 7:30 once again. But until then, Coach, appreciate you for joining me another week.
No problem.
Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Pettit's Market Evan Monroe Show. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.
Go Buffs.